Hey, it's been a while. If it feels like I fell off the face of the planet, I apologize for that. But I really appreciate you clicking on this video to check in because the last time that I posted a video on this channel was May 2023. And I made a post the following month announcing that I was planning on going on a hiatus. But of course, not everybody saw that. And in all honesty, it was my intention at that time to continue to stay active on social media and Discord and stuff like that. I thought what I needed was just a break from the very time-consuming process of producing content. But it wasn't until I started taking a break that I realized how much I really needed a real break. You see, I had been very active in the Pantheon community quite literally every day for 7 years. And so stepping back at all was not a decision that I made lightly. I thought about it for months because it was a part of my daily routine. And I didn't want to let you down because you had supported me all along the way and had come to depend on my videos for updates about the development of Pantheon. But ultimately, I realized that, sometimes in life you just need to adjust your priorities. So I feel like I owe it to you to kind of get you up to speed on to what some of those reasons were and why I had to step back. There were a lot of factors, really, but I'll do my best to explain the three main things. First of all, as you've probably noticed by now, I am not in my old studio. My wife and I moved into this beautiful 100-year-old house that we spent the better part of an entire year completely restoring from the ground up. It's an awesome place, but, in the past 10 years or so, it had been kind of neglected before we got here. And it was such a nice place that we really wanted to kind of turn back the clock on that neglect and, just restore it to its former glory. And that really kind of turned into a full-time job for us. On top of all that, a lot was changing with my real full-time job. It wasn't something that I talked about a whole lot online, but the whole content creation thing was always just a side gig for me. I had a management job that I had actually been doing since before I even knew Pantheon was a thing. And that job was getting increasingly demanding for me, which isn't entirely a bad thing, but because of that and other factors, I decided that it was time for me to change industries, which it turns out is actually not an easy thing to do in the current economy. It was no small feat, but I was very lucky to eventually land a job in the tech industry, which I am very much enjoying now. But you probably didn't click on this video to hear me talk about home renovations and work. So let's talk about the third big thing that's been going on in my life. But in order to do that, I need to give you a little bit of context. In the months leading up to me announcing my hiatus, I spent a lot of time thinking about how important it is to me to be completely in the driver's seat of my creative endeavors. And I'm not talking about sponsorships, okay? Despite what some people may have claimed, this channel has always been independent. What I'm talking about is even more broad than that. For example, as you know, from the very beginning, Basgurn TV has always been about covering Pantheon's development. And if I had committed to doing that exclusively, or even covering MMOs in general, my creative process would always be, to some degree, tied to somebody else's creative process. Like, Visionary Realms is creating an MMO, and I was creating videos based on that creation, which obviously is not inherently a bad thing. But what I found for me is that can actually, in some pretty subtle ways, lead to some pretty significant challenges on the back end, like behind the scenes, when it comes to making long-term goals and plans and scheduling, etc. I was never that interested in becoming like a variety streamer, like always just playing whatever the latest game was. What I found for me was that I actually, in a lot of ways, enjoyed talking about game design and development more than actually playing the games themselves. So I really had to decide if that format that I was doing was really something that I was willing to hitch my wagon to. Like any creative person out there, I'm sure, I have a creative drive that needs an outlet. And, I'd say actually in general, I much prefer to create things than consume them. And so I've been spending a lot of time thinking about how I want to do that. And, it manifests itself in a lot of different ways. Of course, the ones that you're most familiar with are the videos that I created here on YouTube. But in some of those videos, you may remember that I alluded to the fact that I'm also passionate about other forms of game design and game development. Not just in the video game world, but also in the tabletop game world as well. And I also, for you, those of you that had been paying very close attention, you may remember that I mentioned at a couple points in time that I have actually been quietly designing a tabletop game for actually the past 10 years now. Well, in the past couple years, circumstances have aligned, and I have decided that now is the time to make that game a reality. You see, when you design a tabletop game, much like a video game actually, when you get it to the point when you want other people to play it, you have a couple options, right? You can license it to a publisher, which, as we've discussed on the channel before, may or may not take it in a direction that you agree with. Or you can publish it yourself, which takes a lot of time and effort and money, but it's really the only way to ensure that you maintain complete creative control. And in order to do that, you need a publishing company. So introducing SoulForge Entertainment. Sean, my longtime collaborator on Basgrim TV, is joining me on this endeavor, and we have hired additional team members and tabletop industry veterans, and we are firing on all cylinders. So in the coming weeks, I will share some more details about the game that we are developing. And I really cannot wait to do that because I am very confident that this is truly unlike any tabletop game that you have ever seen, which I know sounds like hyperbole, okay? And if that ends up not being the case, please let me know, because I have genuinely been looking for years and I have not been able to find another game that is like this. I know that's kind of an announcement of an announcement, but in the meantime, the announcement that you need to know is that the Basgrim TV YouTube channel and Facebook page and Discord server are all going to be rebranded to SoulForge Entertainment a week from today, the uploading of this video. So this is the icon that you will see from then on. And the existing Pantheon content on this channel won't just be disappearing from the internet. However, obviously the YouTube channel will be getting a new layout, so just keep an eye out for that. And I also wanted to mention that the future videos on this channel won't just be about this game that we're developing. As I was saying before, I really enjoy talking about game design and development in general. And I have quite a few videos planned about just that. More so as it applies to tabletop game design and development, but also video games too, as they relate, because there is a lot of overlap there. So if that is something that you are interested in, I truly hope that you will stick around. I really look forward to reconnecting with you after all these years and just going on this journey together. It's going to be a lot of fun.